In 1988, Danzig released his self-titled album, Danzig, and my friend Doc and I are going to talk about it on this episode of Records with Ray.
But anyways, down to business.
Yeah.
Ray, what are we talking about today?
Talking about the first Danzig album.
Danzig, 1988. Now, what I find amusing about that album, because unfortunately, with Danzig, I went backwards.
Okay.
I started listening at the Thrall era. So
That's what you start with Thrall?
That's the first word I heard Danzig bellow was "It's Coming Down." That was the very first song. I hadn't heard Misfits yet.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I hadn't heard Sam Hain.
Nothing.
Nothing. It was "It's Coming Down." And I was really into the Doors at the time. Mm-hmm. So I was like, heavy metal Jim Morrison. There you go.
Now, how did you hear? Like, was it on the radio?
You know how everybody has that friend that goes, hey, okay, you need to listen to this guy. Okay. But at that time, I think Danzig was heavy in the MTV rotation with Mother.
Yeah.
So that album had just dropped, and It's Coming Down is the first track on it.
Yeah.
And that's the first song I ever heard, and I was just like, that's me. I'm in.
What did you like about it?
It was just different, you know. Like I said, at the last, you know, it was different. Like I said, I was listening to a lot of Doors, listening to a lot of Metallica, Megadeth, you know, that sort of thing. I know a lot of glam rock, and this was kind of different because you could actually hear what he was singing.
Yeah,
and that's what I liked about it, and I liked the power in the vocals, and it was just really like, yeah, you know, it was just I was like fucking strapped in. I was ready to go. So, how my Danzig fandom evolved was reverse. You know, I kind of, you know, listened to Thrall, and me being the sensitive guy that I am, I really attached to Sistinus, the ballad.
Okay.
Really loved it. So I just went rewind. What was the next album I got? How the Gods Kill. Because Sistinus was on it, so I fell in love with that album. And then I got into Lucifuge, and then I landed at Danzig 1.
All right.
So usually Danzig 1's where the purists listen and then they just take off. They don't really hang out for. Some of them are like, yeah, Danzig 2 was good, but they kind of just all filter out from there. Me, that was like the fourth one, and I was already in love with Danzig 3 and Thrall. So by the time I got to Danzig 1, it didn't impress me as much.
It didn't impress you?
It didn't.
Okay.
I liked it. I mean, no, don't get me wrong. You know, it's something that has aged well with time. The American recordings with Danzig, the production value, and the production on that one was just very straight ahead and simple.
Yes, it is.
And that's all you needed for that.
Yep.
No thrills. It was just straight ahead rock and roll. Favorite track off that album? Definitely have to be She Rides.
That's a great song.
You know, it's pretty much captures it pretty much captures the mood I'm in when I see a beautiful girl walk across the crosswalk when I'm in a car. I hear that. And she can even be a yuppie.
So what you're saying, Doc, is when you're stalking women,
when I'm stalking
that's the song you like.
That's the song I hear when I'm at the stoplight and, you know, she's going to Pilates or hot yoga, and I'm just...
Is this a scenario that you do normally?
It's just...
And when she steps out of the Pilates on 125th Street...
as she's strutting across.
And she has that blonde hair, and she gets into that Chevy Prius.
You know, and she's just going into work, and I'm in my car malfunctioning like that android and alien. You know, blah, 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 blah. Perfect specimen. Perfect specimen.
It's like, oh my God, she's coming out early. I don't have it synced up to She Rides yet. It's
oh my God, I gotta do this. Hey, excuse me.
It's still stuck on Soul on Fire. Hey, can you go back inside and come out and fight?
That's exactly what I do. It's terrible. But She Rides, okay? So that's my favorite song. Did I go on a tangent?
I appreciate you sharing that story with me. When I'm hypothetical.
The only problem I really had, again, it had the like, you know, I like the moody Danzig stuff where, you know, slow melodic guitar, you know, like End of the World or End of Time, sorry, not End of the World, End of Time. Love that song. It's just fucking brutal. You know, of course, Mother, you know, the Twist of Cain, but the only thing silly about it that kind of followed Danzig around for his later albums is when Possession. That song's kind of goofy to me.
You like how he actually, you hear his voice change at the very beginning.
That's what. And it, like I said, it's just no. Let's keep it at the strip club, baby.
Yeah.
You know, let's
He's
let's
trying.
not invoke spirits. You know, Danzig, would you please quit shouting at the devil? He's just not that into you.
Do you think? Okay. Well, obviously, it's Danzig's first album, as his first solo album.
For soul.
So maybe at that point, maybe he's still trying to feel things
Experiment.
out.
Yeah, that may have been.
Okay, here's a question for you. What do you think? How do you think you would have thought of the first Danzig album if Danzig was the first album you heard from them? As opposed to being...
It would have had an impact.
Okay.
Because it still has all the things that I fell in love with.
Yeah.
When I first heard the guy sing, you know, it's just this powerful vocal, this straight ahead guitar. You know, it was it was dark, it was black, it was just really great, and it was different for anything that I was listening to. And it's straight ahead blues rock. You know,
Well, I was actually having.
It's not about how fast you can play and, you know, zipping around. It was really just straight ahead, just you know. It's.
I was having a conversation with a friend of mine. We were talking about, like, what kind of music would you describe Danzig? Is it metal? Is it hard rock?
I'd call it hard rock.
Hard rock.
I wouldn't call it metal.
No.
I think later on it kind of got metally.
He could become metal.
He could.
There's some songs that are more metallic.
Right.
But the first album. So okay, let me give you my story. I mean, I came into the first Danzig album as a Misfits fan.
Right.
I got into the Misfits into the 80s. Me, like all my other friends, the Misfits consumed our lives. And I lived in the middle of nowhere. And you just tried to get as much Misfits as you could at a mall. So seriously, I want the Misfits, you want the Misfits. And you could get, there was only 4 or 5 albums that you can actually buy.
Right.
And that's all you can find. Mm-hmm. You know. So, and you just listen to those albums over and over and over again.
And I think there's a charm to that time of our life, and I think we were very lucky to grow up to that, because with all albums with me, it was all about it. You couldn't just get it online, you know. I had to go on a quest to get a cassette, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, this artist I like has 5 albums.
Yeah.
Can you imagine getting into Iron Maiden with Fear of the Dark?
Yeah.
Oh, I got to go buy 9 albums now.
Yeah.
You know, but in every one was saving up lunch money, so I was going hungry at school because my parents would give me lunch money, and I would just squirrel it away and just bum a sandwich off my friend so that I could go buy these albums.
Yeah, and
I didn't get them at a I didn't get them at a CD store. I got them at a TV repair shop.
Wow.
I feel like an old man when I tell these stories now, because everybody's just like, I want that, I want that, I want that, and then they never listen to it. Me, it was Lord of the Rings, man. There was a lot of walking involved.
A lot of driving. I mean, I lived about before any other city that was close to me. I remember I was able to buy the Misfits albums I could buy at the mall that was close to me, but I remember I had to drive to a big city, which was about an hour and a half away.
Right.
And then I remember that's where they had the Misfits singles.
Yeah.
And of course they're all expensive as shit already back then. You know, $100 for Night of the Living Dead, that kind of thing. So you had what you had. And then I remember Sam Hain, Initium. That was a big deal, and you're like, what's more Danzig? And I remember it took me a little bit of time to warm up to that album, because it's definitely not the Misfits.
It's not the Misfits.
It's a little slower, it's a little darker. And then I remember Danzig putting out his first album. So I remember I'm just like, yeah, awesome, great, It took a little bit of time for me to warm up to the album, to accept it what it is, because you're going from Astro Zombies to Mother,
Right.
It's
a different world.
It's a different world, but what I really loved about the first album is how dry it's recorded. It's Rick Rubin.
Yeah, it's Rick Rubin.
And Rick Rubin's, he is known for no reverb, and as a guitar player, I love how the guitar sounds on the first Danzig album. I mean, you want to say what does a Marshall sound like?
It's almost like there was no pedal boards involved.
Nothing, or maybe a wah-wah pedal or something.
John Christ walked into the studio. They put a microphone on the Marshall stack, and he plugged in his guitar and recorded Danzig. There was no screwing around with pedals.
Nope.
None of that. Just Marshall.
Just Marshall. And I remember, like, that's what made me want to buy a Marshall or get one. It's like, I want that sound. And as a guitar player, John Christ is a big influence on me. I thought it was awesome that Chuck Biscuits was the drummer.
Flag.
Black Flag, Circle Jerks, DOA. I mean, the guy already had, like...
he already had a pretty cool resume.
Yeah, and Eerie Vaughn was already in Sandbane.
And then that's I guess that's what I love most about Danzig and those first 4 American recordings, including the very first album. It's the sentimental value attached, because that's what took me into the Misfits. I hadn't discovered that yet.
Yeah.
And then when you're that kid in high school, and you're the only kid in high school that finds Misfits, it's like that suitcase in Pulp Fiction that they're always opening and nobody knows what the hell it is, but you're just like staring into the eyes of God. You know, I got something that you don't have.
Yeah.
And that's what the Misfits and that's what Danzig and all that music was. It was that suitcase in Pulp Fiction. I was just like, this is great.
I'll tell you,
you guys are all missing out. Think what I loved about the Misfits.
Yeah.
And why I was really drawn, because when it comes to punk rock, I'm pretty much just, there's a handful of good punk rock bands I like. The Ramones, the Misfits, the Damned, and then I kind of teeter off there, you know. But the thing that really struck me about the Misfits, obviously, I like Danzig because the singing.
Yeah.
The Misfits, it was punk rock, but the singing. You could hear what he was saying, and maybe not a lot of people know this, but that's doo-wop. When I hear the Misfits, I hear those old school platters, and I love that stuff. I'm an old R&B guy. When I hear that, I hear the crest, you know. Happy birthday, baby, oh, I'll fuck your skull. You know,
you're right. You're completely right.
It's doo-wop. So when I heard that, I was just like, wow, man, this is fucking great. When you Angel Fuck, that you could easily hear Sam Cooke singing that song.
Yeah, I can easily.
Little angel fuck, it's a shame your love is a bitter thing. Oh.
I don't know how much radio play that would have gotten back in.
Yeah, back in 1959, he would have.
Sorry, what's the name of this song? Angel Fuck.
Angel Fuck, motherfucker. Do you speak it?
Yeah, that's not kind of.
Yeah, we're not going to do that here. The thing about that 50s music, and I don't know if it's because I've seen Christine too many times.
Yeah.
It's spooky. Whenever you know, it's like whenever you hear one of those old reverby, you know,
yeah,
bye bye love, doo 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 bye. I'm looking over my shoulder,
and it's coming out of one speaker in the AM, right in the middle of a car.
That's the thing. When I hear that, I'm usually looking over my shoulder because it's really there's some spooky quality about it. So of course the Misfits singing in that style.
That first Danzig
home run.
The Danzig album is spooky. It's definitely a dark.
There is an atmosphere to it.
Oh, there's an atmosphere. The actual lack of reverb creates this atmosphere. One of my favorite songs on the album is "Soul on Fire."
Right.
And that very
after she writes.
The very beginning where it's just like I think it's a keyboard or is it a piano or is it a bass where it's like boom.
I want to say that was a bass.
Boom. And he's like, and just for two.
It's that quality. He's whispering.
Yeah.
You know, so it creates this spooky atmosphere. And then I want to say that The Hunter, that song was...
it's a cover, right?
It's a cover.
Because I think...
either Howlin' Wolf or Robert Johnson kind of covered.
I think he
mixed up the words or something.
Okay.
And fun fact, James Hetfield sang Backups on Possession.
Did he really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
See the guy whose voice changes at the very beginning.
That was him.
That was
Here's your big break, kid.
There's your big break. Okay, well, what... At this point in the game, what's your opinion of the radio hits? Mother and Twist the King.
Well, of course, Mother. I mean...
Are you like, I never need to hear those again?
I don't, and I still sing it quite often. It's weird.
Yeah.
But, no, I mean, the radio hits... They're good for people like me because a lot of the how I found these bands was radio hits and MTV. I never had that big brother with the huge record collection. Yeah. I never had that. I had a cousin who would, give me an album here and there, and that was it. And then I was kind of left to my own devices, and I would just go walking back and forth to the TV repair shop, grabbing shit that I saw on MTV. So, and these were bands that were new to me. If I saw the Scorpions, Rock You Like a Hurricane was their very first song to me.
Yeah.
I didn't know they had a whole 70s life.
I'm the same way.
It was Rock You Like a Hurricane. Savage Amusement, best album ever. Don't say that to the purists. But, that's how I adopted this music. So the radio hits, yeah, they're overplayed. It kind of takes the soul out of all of it. But at the same time, it's good for turning people like me on who wouldn't have known of that band without the radio hits, if I wasn't in front of the TV watching Beavis and Butthead.
Well, I think what's interesting, too, is like, you want to talk about the music videos, and I remember the videos for Twisted Cane and Mother. Looking back now, but, like, it's in black and white, and it's like this half-naked chick, and I guess she's... is she like on a possession, like a sacrifice table, and you got all, and
he's giving her pap smears.
Yeah, I guess so. And it's but
when you're a kid, that blows your mind.
You're like, oh my god, this guy's evil. Yeah, it's like a giant upside down cross thing. That's
giant upside down cross. He's all rockied out.
I just think that's funny about Danzig though is like, by the time he's doing Danzig, like. You ever see like girls like these rockabilly girls that have like they have the Betty Page haircut?
Oh yeah.
So they have the bangs.
There's like 90% of them for a couple of years.
So they have the bangs, and then eventually, they want to grow them out. And then eventually they start doing this thing where they kind of do the.
Oh yeah.
They kind of part it to the side.
Well, the picture on the picture from Danzig.
Oh, Glenn Danzig.
He's
parting his devil.
He was like a heavy metal Superman. He had that girl catcher there.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. He's like, well, I can't have this here anymore, so he just sort of has it moved to the side.
And I just happen to have right here. This is very cool. I pulled this out specifically for this. Danzig 1, the cassette with no cassette in it, broken.
That's what I had.
But there's a little treat in there.
What?
A signed ticket stub from Glenn Danzig himself.
Seriously.
Yeah, that was from the Danzig 4 tour. My car broke down, and I was having a terrible evening after a great show. So I was just wandering back behind the Mercer Arena, and there's Glenn Danzig in front of his tour bus.
This doesn't say Danzig, it says Delight.
I was on a lot of drugs that night. Well, there goes my dream. Sitting down, kicking back in Lake City,
drinking some
Diet A&W. In beautiful Lake City where dreams go to die.
Yeah. Or this is where you go where you can't afford to live in downtown Seattle.
Exactly.
Anymore.
This is what you do before you become one of those guys that move to Shoreline or Everett or Linwood.
Hey gang, this is Ray, and I just want to say thank you very much for checking out my video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to see more videos, please click on the subscribe button. And if you like what you see, please give it a like. That would mean a lot to me. And if you're wondering why I'm wearing Hawaiian shirts, well, when I'm not talking about records, I'm talking about my other love, Tiki. I have a show called Tiki with Ray. If you want to check that show out, just search Tiki with Ray on YouTube. It'll come up.